Prohibition, the prohibition against smoking is often violated. Prohibition for Americans refers to the time in the 1920s when alcohol was prohibited by a constitutional amendment, an absurd farce and fiasco. Remember those words? Fiasco or farce, that is, it was universally violated, this prohibition, and so that amendment against drinking, against alcohol, was repealed, called back. I doubt that we have that. It's not very important, really. Curious. No, that's okay. Proletariat. The proletariat is the working class, laboring working class. Marxist term, Karl Marx. Prolific comes from a Latin word that means children, child, excuse me. Excuse me. A prolific author, first of all, a prolific woman has many children. Makes children, as the word shows. A prolific author is an author who writes many books. Prolix means talkative, talking too much. Prologue, well, looks strange to me, but there it is. A prologue, the past is prologue, as Shakespeare says somewhere, meaning the events of the past announce in one way or another things that will happen in the future. The trouble is, of course, that we don't know which events and how these events affect the future, and therefore the folly of trying to predict the future. Prominent, important, famous and important, prominent citizens. He has a prominent nose, means very visible, unusually obvious. Propaganda is everything any government says, I think, and everything anyone says about that government also. That is, propaganda is an attempt to affect the thinking of other people by some information, especially government though. Propitiate is to appease, to conciliate. The purest sense of the word, I think, is that primitive man sought to propitiate the gods that he felt existed, the greater powers, by making sacrifices to them and performing ceremonies in an attempt to appease, to maybe please the gods, or at least prevent the gods from hurting them. A primitive man saw thunder, heard thunder and saw lightning, and of course, terrified, sought to appease the gods. A proselyte is a convert, good word. A convert to some religious group. A proselyte, good. Usually the most enthusiastic members of a church, maybe. Not usually, but often. Protract is to prolong. After protracted discussion, the United States has decided that I guess Bush will be the president or something. Prolonged, going on and on. Dragging, literally, all Latin, on and on. To provide is to bring and place before someone. They provided the money for our Model UN initiative. Prowess is strength and skill. Because of his prowess, he was able to, defend his family. Prune is, of course, a fruit, but more important is the verb. To prune a tree, a plant, even a flower, is to cut off the dead or dying parts. Pseudonym is a false name. He he lived under a pseudonym so that people wouldn't recognize who he was. Excuse me. To pulverize is to reduce to dust, Latin word. Punctual is on time, arriving on time or doing something, performing some duty on time. Punctuality, the state of being punctual. A pundit is a wise person, all-knowing presumably. The word is used sarcastically of the political pundits, usually journalists, who tell us what to think about politics. The political pundits give us our opinions, I think. Punitive, designed to punish. They took punitive measures. Punitive measures will be taken if people continue to violate this law. Purport is a verb. He purports to be an expert. He announces himself as being an expert. Quadrant, a math term, quadrant. What is a quadrant? I don't know. It's something in math. I've forgotten it. Only math. Good word, but only math. Quaint, usually intended now in a, what is that word? Pejorative sense. Oh, how quaint your outfit is, means how silly, how old-fashioned. It shouldn't mean that, but that's what it means. Only in this pejorative, disparaging, belittling sense. Quandary, to be in a quandary, is to be in a state of confusion, undecided about something, almost a predicament, as we had a few minutes ago. Quelled, to quell a riot is to break up the riot and prevent it from happening anymore. To bring under control, but it's only a social disorder that is quelled. Quell a disease? No, only a social disorder. A query, noun, mostly is a question, an inquiry. Quiescent, again that ESC, a process word, fluorescent, senescent, effervescent, adolescent, a process of becoming. Quiescent is becoming quiet. Excellent, unusual words. Radial, another math term, there's a radius, and there's a radial. I don't really know what it means in math, and there are radial tires, or there used to be special tires that I suppose are now obsolete, obscure math term for me. To radiate is to cast out light. Now, when he won the prize, he radiated with joy. Of course, we know about radiation, but radiate is the casting out of beams of light, especially. Rally is a noun, is a gathering of people for some purpose, trying to arouse some enthusiasm. As a verb, he rallied the troops. The battle was going badly. They were losing, but he rallied the troops. The men, the soldiers got together, turned around, and attacked the enemy and won the victory. Random is by chance. Good word. A random choice is just almost by chance. Things happen by randomly. Nature, in the end, behaves within very loose laws, but a lot of random activity goes on. Light is kind of random. Matter, kind of random. And so ultimately, when people base their logical view of life, or rationalists talk about rational behavior of the universe. At least in the present state, it seems to me, of science, and what do I know, they're whistling in the dark. No, nature is not logical and rational. There is this randomness that prevents us from having absolute knowledge. Rapidity, that which is rapid. The rapidity with which the Korean economy recovered 3 years ago surprised everyone. Rapture, joy, ecstasy. Rascal, always used sarcastically, not serious. A rascal is usually a boy who plays jokes and pranks on people, or is seldom serious. Rash, overly bold. Reckless, rashness, recklessness. Surely we'll have that. No, we better do it then. His rash behavior, that is, he didn't think. He did something suddenly without thinking, and the result was bad. The rashness of his decision caused suffering for many people. To ratify is to confirm. Only in politics, to ratify a constitution, to confirm. Rebel, rebel, same spelling, good for you to know. A rebel, noun, is a person who acts against some authority. I'm going to drink this before it's cold. He rebels, same spelling, notice different pronunciation, different accent. He rebels against authority. Rebellion is the noun form of the concept. Rebuttal, noun, to rebut. To rebut is to argue against and almost refute some argument. You argue that because this and this is true, then we should do this. I try to rebut your argument. My rebuttal is successful or unsuccessful. Now, recalcitrant, very stubborn, refusing to obey or cooperate. Almost a rebel, almost rebellious. To recede is to go back. Notice we've got a new prefix here, re. Recede is to yield back. The waves come up on the shore and then recede. Recline, to lie down. Recluse, notice this pronunciation, not re. Recluse, some people say, but recluse is, I think, the better pronunciation. A recluse is a hermit, a person who spends a lot of time alone, doesn't usually like people, or at least is uncomfortable with people, more comfortable alone. Recollect means really to remember. I don't recollect what page we're on, even. Recompense, noun. Recompense is compensation, the money usually that one receives for services or for something. Reconcile, good word. To reconcile two people have an argument, a quarrel, and they try to reconcile, VI. I try to reconcile them, VT. Help them to patch up their differences and return to their former harmony. Recruit, a verb. We tried to recruit members for the Model UN, something like that. A recruit, noun, is a person who joins the group, having been sought, having been invited to join. Recruits in the States are often, the word is often used in the military. A recruit, a person who has been recruited, joins the military.